Hi, I'm Emily Lorenz, proud superintendent of Calallen ISD.
And I'm Kelsey Ramos, assistant superintendent here at Calallen ISD. We're excited to share with you information today regarding our May 6, 2023 bond election.
We've been doing town hall meetings across the district, and we're sorry that you couldn't join us, but we're excited to share our presentation with you today.
So I'm going to take a moment before we begin to help you understand what a school bond is. So think of a school bond as a mortgage on your home. It is the way that school districts finance construction or big capital improvement projects. So school districts sell bonds to investors, similar to the way that you can buy a certificate of a deposit or a money market fund. And with those, the investors are paid principal and interest for buying these school bonds. So how do bonds work? The sale of the bond first begins with the Board of Trustees calling for a bond election that asks the voters to authorize the district to spend a specific maximum amount of money on a set of defined projects. So by law, what we are presenting today as this bond package, we cannot expend any additional dollars or go outside of the scope of projects that we have defined. And eligible voters is anyone who is registered to vote that lives within the boundaries of Calallen ISD. So lastly, what is a bond election? It's an opportunity for the registered voters in our community to come out and vote on paying for these construction and renovation projects using tax dollars to fund this bond.
So when we look at how do we determine a project list for a bond, we put a lot of work and effort into it. First, administration compiled the list, a very large list, based on postponed projects from previous bond elections, campus and department walkthroughs with principals and department heads, outstanding deferred maintenance, so large items such as rooftop units, air conditioners. We also talked to community staff and took student recommendations. One thing that we did a little different this year was we hired a professional estimator. So we did this to evaluate each of the proposed bond projects to determine what would be the cost of construction. So we used a firm named RMA Architects, and on top of what they estimated the cost of construction would be, we included 15% soft costs, which include things like the engineer, the architect, and 12% inflation. So as we know right now, inflation is a big issue, so we wanted to make sure that as these items will take time to complete, we made sure that we included that. Our goal is to really ensure that with the bond, whatever goes on the project list at the end is what we can fund. So when we looked at building that final project list, we created a bond committee. This committee was made up of 47 members that include different stakeholders such as parents, community members, business owners, teachers, administrators, and board members. They took the time to review our finances, our enrollment projections, looked at the current state of our facilities, needs that were shared by those principals and department heads, and took time to talk to other people and gather feedback. We met 5 times as a group to analyze data, look at our priorities, develop options, and finally come up with what became the 2023 bond project list. One other item that we're taking moving forward is a bond advisory committee. So from the large group of 47 members, we selected 7 members, the committee did, to serve on the bond advisory committee. This group was established in order to present the recommendation to the Board of Trustees. So they made a presentation prior to the call. They're going to help set bond priorities. So after, if it gets approved, they'll determine the sequence in which we complete projects, and to also keep us accountable and ensure that taxpayer dollars are expended as the bond project list dictated. And then finally, they're going to monitor the progress of the bond program. They will continue to work with administration throughout the duration of the 2023 bond project completion. So what are we asking for? The Calallen ISD 2023 bond projects is a proposed total of $67,755,000. That total amount is broken into 2 propositions. So election code in the state of Texas determines how school bonds can get listed on the ballot. So Proposition A is a general purpose proposition, which includes items such as safety and security, academics, career and technology, athletics, fine arts, and maintenance. That compromises 81.4% of the total, or $55,182,000. Proposition B is a stadiums projects. That includes Phil Danaher Stadium, Steve Chapman Stadium, and Lady Cat Softball Stadium. That compromises 18.6% of the total, or a little over $12.5 million.
So I'm going to step in here and explain why we have to have two separate propositions on this bond election. So during the 2019 legislative session, House Bill 3 was passed that amended the Texas Education Code and the election laws within the Texas Education Code. It stated that for bonds for each of the following purposes must be stated in separate propositions. And that list is stadiums with capacity for more than 1,000 spectators, natatoriums, recreational facilities other than gymnasiums, playgrounds, and play areas, performing arts facilities, housing for teachers, and technology equipment. And each of those individual items that are accepted purposes must be in separate propositions. And this also includes new facilities of those purposes, but also remodels and renovations to any of those existing facilities that the district might have. So we've highlighted stadium with capacity for more than 1,000 spectators. That is why Phil Danaher baseball and softball have been placed on Proposition B, because their capacity exceeds 1,000 spectators. We've italicized their performing arts facility. There is a performing arts facility proposed on this bond. However, the Attorney General issued an opinion regarding how do you define a performing arts facility. And a facility predominantly used for required classroom instruction does not require a separate proposition simply because it has a stage. When we dive into what is being proposed on the performing arts facility for Calallen ISD, its primary function is required classroom instruction, and so it is placed on Proposition A.
So when we start to look a little bit deeper at individual projects, we grouped them to try to make it easier to understand what's going to be completed should this bond be passed. The first items I want to talk about are safety and security. So there's a total of over $5.5 million in the bond allocated for safety and security, which will impact all campuses. For the majority of campuses, it is going to include fencing and exterior lighting. The state has put out proposed safety standards, which include needing to have 6-foot fences that are not scalable or 8-foot fences. We will use bond money to ensure that all of our fencing meets those requirements. Additionally, exterior lighting, we currently do not have LED lighting on the exteriors of all of our campuses, such as parking lots and what we commonly call porches at the elementaries. That would hit every single campus, and then several of our campuses would get access controls. Access controls are the badge system which we use at high school and West currently, which allow us to enter and exit the doors through badge systems that also include alarm systems. In addition to fencing, exterior lighting, and access controls, Calallen Middle School would have a fire alarm and intercom upgrade across the campus. MAGEE would have a fire lane upgrade. Currently, across the back of MAGEE is a Caliche Drive, which serves as the fire lane. That would be upgraded to a more permanent road. East would additionally get a bus lane addition. They are the only campus currently without a bus lane. We will complete these projects with bond money in conjunction with general operating funds and other safety and security funds that we have been using to complete district needs and to meet and exceed the proposed school safety standards. At Calallen High School, there's a proposed $11 million. You'll see on this sheet, we've bolded fencing and exterior lighting in a yellow-orange color. That is a repeat of what was included in the $5.5 million, so it's reallocated on every one of the campuses. But in addition to that, they would also get an auditorium conversion to classrooms and offices. We're going to talk in a little bit about the Performing Arts Center, and so if this bond passes, the new center would be completed, allowing us to transition the current auditorium to have more space for classrooms and offices. We would also have cafeteria upgrades. Currently, the high school cafeteria was built in 3 segments, so this would allow us to standardize and make it look more uniform. We would also have a covered walkway to Ag, CTE, and dual credit located on the back side of the campus. Currently, when it rains heavily, students are held in class because they cannot traverse into the building in the heavy rain. We would also have a CTE building renovation. We pride ourselves on the programs that we have available to support our students in academics, but as well as trades. This would allow us to take a currently empty segment of the Ag building and renovate it to have a new and innovative program at the high school. We would also add additional furniture. So each campus, you will see a listing for furniture. We will replace a segment with new and innovative, nicer furniture at every campus. We would also do a general interior remodel at the high school. This would include things like paint, LED lighting in the hallway, floor corrections, things that would just overall give a facelift to the campus. Additionally, we would do plumbing upgrades. So the high school campus is 50 years old. This would be a maintenance project which would allow us to completely remove and replace the cast iron plumbing beneath the campus. For Calallen Middle School, it's a total of $3,932,000. As we already talked about, they would get access controls, fencing and exterior lighting, and fire alarm and intercom upgrades, which were also included in the safety upgrades. But they too would receive furniture upgrades in the campus and a full library renovation. Currently, the Calallen Middle School Library is one of the smallest libraries in the district. This would allow us to integrate STEM more easily and expand the overall size and usability of the middle school library. MAGEE Intermediate's total would be a little over $1 million. They would get the safety features that we talked about, including for them the fire lane upgrade. They would also get a playground awning. So currently MAGEE is the only elementary level campus that does not have an outdoor playground awning. They would get playground turf. You're going to see this on all the intermediate and elementary campuses. This would allow us to remove the rocks and the black rubber that is currently on our playgrounds and replace it with a more solid structure that would make it more ADA compatible so that all of our students could access and use our playgrounds. Additionally, they currently have an asphalt track that is falling into disrepair. This would allow us to replace it with a concrete track that hopefully can sustain a little more wear and tear. When we look at West Intermediate, there's several items here. Even though it was our newest campus, we would put $1.2 million on that campus. They would need a fencing upgrade, so we would have to extend their current fencing to 8 foot to meet safety standards. Additionally, in the original construction of West, it included a pavilion to be located in the back of the campus near the bus lane. It was not added due to the overall cost of the campus and the inability to complete that project in the last bond program. So we would add that back in. And additionally, they would get the same playground turf as we discussed with MAGEE Intermediate. When we look at East Elementary, it would be an investment of about $2,586,000. They would get those same safety standard upgrades, access controls, fencing and exterior lighting. They also do not have a bus lane, so this would help provide a safety standard to that campus for students that walk home and for those that traverse the parking lot so that it could be a safer way to get buses in and off the campus. They would also get a general exterior and interior remodel similar to the high school, which would allow us to do that facelift upgrade we were talking about earlier. Additionally, they would get cafeteria improvements. We use the cafeterias at our elementary campuses for all sorts of events and award ceremonies, and so it would be nice to have better lighting, a nicer stage, and an overall facelift for when we have meetings and get-togethers, that we have a nice place to do so. We would also add additional furniture to the campus and the playground turf, similar to the intermediate campuses. When we look at Wood River Elementary, it would be an investment of $2.1 million. They would get access controls and fencing and exterior lighting for safety upgrades, as well as those general exterior and interior remodels, cafeteria improvements, similar to East, furniture, playground turf, and they would also get a track replacement like MAGEE, a concrete track that would be more sustainable for a longer term.
Athletic projects included on Proposition A are a total investment of $8,902,000. These include a fieldhouse renovation. Currently, the fieldhouse was built in the 1980s. A portion of it, which is the current weight room facility, is not air conditioned, and very little has been done to the fieldhouse since the 1980s in terms of renovations or upgrades. And so this fieldhouse renovation would first and foremost air condition the entire facility. It would take care of new painting, new lighting, new flooring, new locker systems, and just generally remodel the field house for our sports. The second item is inside of Calallen High School is the girls' locker room and weight room. We'll do a renovation to that space that would include the same aspects. They would get painting, flooring, lighting, as well as weight room equipment and technology upgrades. Lastly is tennis courts with restrooms and concessions. So currently, as seen in the photo of our old and existing tennis courts, we like to say they look like a potato chip. They are very wavy, they hold water in spots, and in fact, one court holds so much water that during inclement weather, it cannot be used. Unfortunately, we've heard from numerous architects and engineers that they are beyond repair and that we need to build a new tennis court facility. So this proposed facility would be north of the FEMA Dome. As you traverse on the Ag Road out to the Ag Barn, it would be on your left-hand side just as you pass the FEMA Dome. The restrooms and concessions would serve that facility, but would also serve the multi-purpose building, the pool, and the FEMA Dome. The multi-purpose building currently does not have a restroom, so when sports and even band are out there practicing and using that multi-purpose building, they have to go to other buildings to use the restroom. And so that would serve all of those buildings, not just the tennis courts. Next up is the Performing Arts Facility on Proposition A, totaling $20,479,000. So the current auditorium in the high school was built in the 1970s when we were a 2A high school. It is a very small auditorium and it is landlocked in the middle of our high school facility. And so remodeling and expanding the current auditorium to fit our program needs cannot happen. Additionally, our band does not fit on that stage to perform. And so we are proposing a new performing arts auditorium. The location is adjacent to the existing band hall at the back of the high school. It would seat 650 people. It would have a large stage and all of the theater quality audio-visual systems. Additionally, it has numerous classrooms with that auditorium, including a technical theater classroom with storage, a drama classroom, and dressing rooms. Those classroom instructional facilities are current facilities that we do not have in Calallen High School. There is some maintenance items included on Proposition A, totaling a little over $8 million. The current transportation facility parking lot is very small and does not adequately fit the size of fleet that Calallen High School runs, and definitely does not leave us room for fleet expansion in the future. And so we will be adding additional bus parking to alleviate those problems at the transportation facility. We already hit on high school plumbing upgrades, and then some deferred maintenance. This would be repairs to rooftop units, AC units, parking lots, sidewalks, and plumbing and electrical systems. The district administration would use our facility assessment to prioritize the biggest projects and biggest needs for the bond. Now we'll take a look at Proposition B. Reminder, those are the stadiums that seat more than 1,000 spectators. So on that proposition, it totals $12,573,000. At Steve Chapman Stadium, it includes a outfield fence replacement. That current fence is basically falling down. It is in need of repair, and so we will replace that fence. It will also include baseball field turf as well as softball field turf. So during inclement weather, because we are grass fields, we cannot use our fields until they have dried out. Additionally, adding field turf to those two facilities would cut down on district maintenance and time needed to maintain those grass fields. So then at Phil Danaher Stadium, we would do renovations, including 2 new entryways, very similar to what we installed at the baseball and softball stadiums. We would install all new 8-foot estate fencing all the way around the stadium. And currently, the number of restrooms at Phil Danaher Stadium do not meet the current code requirement. In fact, they are short by quite a few. And so we will renovate the existing restrooms and add additional restrooms to both the home and visitor side to meet that code requirement. We will replace the press box. The press box is original to the 1980s. The size is very small for the size of programs that we utilize that stadium for, and it is in need of repair and replacement. So we will expand that as we replace it as well. And then also a new scoreboard. Currently, our scoreboard, every time there is inclement weather, it has electricity issues and shorts, and so we are proposing a new scoreboard. And additionally, that new scoreboard would include features that would allow our audiovisual students to run programs and cool instructional.
I'd like to jump in and just add one thing to the stadiums with you, Kelsey, if you don't mind. One thing I want to stress is that our stadiums are used significantly not only by Calallen ISD, but by other districts for playoffs. Additionally, when you look at the high school Phil Danaher Stadium, it's not just athletics that uses our stadium. Our award-winning band, placed 8th 3 times in a row at state, brings in and hosts several contests here, including one large contest which last year hosted 38 bands. So having a facility that can meet the needs of our growing and thriving band program as well as our wonderful athletics would be a great addition to the district.
So that finalizes what is included on the project list. Now I'm going to explain the finance and tax impact of the Bond 2023 proposal. So we're going to take a moment to just understand how Calallen's budgets are divided. So we have 2 budgets, a maintenance and operations known as M&O, and an interest and sinking known as INS. And so on the maintenance and operations, think of this as, I'm going to put this in perspective to you as a homeowner. Maintenance and operations are your day-to-day activities. They are your electricity, they're your grocery bill, your gas bill. Your interest and sinking is your home mortgage. So maintenance and operations for the district is what the revenue is used to fund our daily operations. The funding in M&O primarily comes from tax collections and then the state foundation school program or state funding. And typically districts do not have enough surplus M&O to cover large capital purchase expenditures. So then on the INS side, revenue is used solely to repay voter-approved school bonds. By law, the district cannot use interest and sinking funds for any other use. It is only used to repay those school bonds. Bond funds can be used for construction and capital improvements, furniture, equipment, and land. And you cannot have surplus from INS that you move to M&O to pay for daily operations, and vice versa. They are 2 segregated buckets. So when you as a taxpayer get your tax bill, you're only seeing one total tax rate, and that is that M&O added to the INS. And so I want to give you a little history on Calallen ISD's tax rate over the last 5 years. So in 2018, our total tax rate was $1.40. In 2022, it dropped to $1.18. This is due to laws from the 86th legislative session that introduced property tax compression. And what that means, as property values grow, the M&O tax rate declines. And you can see that there in the gray bars. That is the M&O portion of the tax rate. So it went from $1.17 to 94 cents over those 5 years. Whereas the bond stayed very steady. We saw one increase in 2019 by a penny, and then it remained exactly the same. So the net 4-year tax decrease is almost 22 cents that our tax rate has compressed over those 5 years. So what does the 2023 bond program mean for our tax impact? It is a maximum projected INS tax rate increase of 4 cents. So what does that mean on an average home in Calallen ISD? An average home is valued at $175,000. So Proposition A, that is for general purpose, would mean $4.77 a month. Proposition B for the stadium projects would mean $1.08 per month. That totals out to be $70.20 per year. It is very important to note that if you are over 65 and you have a homestead exemption on your home, there is zero tax impact for the Bond 2023 program to you because your school district taxes are frozen.
Now I'd like to share a little bit of information about election and voting. So get ready, because the last day to register to vote is April 6th. We will open up early voting on April the 24th, and the last day for early voting is May the 2nd. The actual election day is Saturday, May the 6th, 2023. There will be one polling site. It's going to be located at Calallen ISD Administration Building at 4205 Wildcat Drive. We look forward to having you come out and cast your vote. Here's the sample ballot wording that you're going to see. So when you come to vote, you're going to see two propositions that we spoke about, Proposition A and Proposition B. The way it'll read is it'll state the issuance of $55,182,000 of bonds by Calallen ISD for the construction, renovation, improvement, and equipment of school facilities in the district, including but not limited to improvements to enhance safety and security and leveling the tax and payment thereof. It will state this is a property tax increase. That is because as part of legislation passed in 2019, all ballot language for school bonds must include the statement, this is a property tax increase. So for those people that Kelsey spoke about just a minute ago, those with 65 and older with a homestead exemption, your ballot will read the same. However, please note, for you, it will not be a property tax increase. It will then also have Proposition B stated, the issuance of $12,573,000 of bonds by the Calallen Independent School District for the construction, renovation, improvement, and equipment of Phil Danaher Stadium, Steve Chapman Stadium, and the Lady Cat Softball Stadium, and leveling the tax and payment thereof. This is a property tax increase. Same homestead exemptions apply.
Need more information or have questions? Visit our bond website.
Thank you for your support.
We are Calallen.